What's good, everyone? Enrique here with another video, and this time we're talking about the Digitakt, focusing on the filter page. So let's head to the desk and check it out. Alright, so the filter page on the Digitakt. This is probably my second most used page. Maybe my first, not really sure. They kind of go hand in hand with the AMP page. But strictly focusing on the filter page, I have this sample here, right? And the filter page allows you to do a lot of cool things with basically the way a sample sounds and the way the sample kind of comes in and moves after it's been triggered. The cool thing with this is, as opposed to the AMP page, also if you haven't seen my video on the AMP page, I'll leave a link to that right here. Go ahead, check that out. You can also watch that one after this one or before. It doesn't really matter. They go hand in hand really, really well. So as opposed to the AMP page where you only have attack, hold, decay, you actually have a 4-cycle envelope in the filter page: attack, decay, sustain, and release. This is really, really awesome. I wish it was available on the AMP page, but it's not. It's just on the filter page. But we can use this to really shape our sound similar to the way that you would with an AMP envelope. So from left to right, you got your attack, decay, sustain, and release. Again, a 4-cycle envelope. What these all mean is basically the way an envelope is going to be shaped, which will then affect the filter frequency or the cutoff of the multimode filter. So after that, you got your frequency, your resonance, and your type. This is a multimode filter, meaning it has multiple types of modes. Basically, you have off, a 2-pole low pass, and a 2-pole high pass. And then of course you have your envelope knob, which is both positive and negative. So sending that envelope shape that we create, in this case this little shark fin sawtooth looking thing, we can send that positively or negatively towards the filter cutoff. So resetting this, I'm going to hold down filter and hit clear. Clears the page, sets it back to default. We have this sample here, right? We can turn down the filter frequency, maybe turn up a little bit of resonance. Right, so this is cool, but it just sounds like I'm listening to it through a pillow. Let's kind of shape this up a little bit. Turning the AMP envelope, or the filter envelope, sorry, positively up. You hear that? It's that shape that we are creating with the 4-stage envelope and sending that to the filter cutoff. Right? So let's add some attack. You see that there? But see how quickly I tap this, right? It's not even letting the attack get all the way up to its fullest potential, which is basically all the way open, before it starts going into the rest of the cycle of the envelope. So if I press and hold this, you can hear it actually goes through the entire cycle. But if I just tap it, it's only going a little bit of the attack, and then it's like, oh, he let go of the note, we got to continue on. And then we hit the decay, sustain, and then the release portion of things. So if I turn the attack further back, basically set to 0, as soon as I tap this, it's going to be at full level, basically opening the filter as much as we set in the envelope here. Right? So then if we say, okay, our decay, let's be really short. So you can hear it's like a little pluck. But the cool thing here is with sustain, what sustain does as opposed to a decay is basically at what point is it going to chill at as I hold the note. So if I hold it now, you can hear it kind of fell a little bit, and then as soon as I let it go, it continues falling. So as I hold this, I'm going to move the sustain and kind of find the sweet spot. Maybe right there is kind of cool. You can hear it like plucks and then lands here. So an even better way to demonstrate this, I'm going to turn the filter frequency all the way down and turn the envelope all the way up. So now holding this, I can say I want it to land at that point. And then moving the attack and the decay and making them really slow, you'll hear that it goes up, down, and then falls at the sustain level and holds it there until I let go of this, and that's when it moves to the release portion of the cycle, saying, all right, now slowly close it off. All right, maybe I want it to land there. Maybe even longer decay and a longer attack. See, it could barely even reach that cycle before the sample ended. So you can still kind of hear it trailing off at the end a little bit, right? If I move the release really short, as soon as I let it go, it chops that filter off. Right? If I let this hang a little bit, basically to infinite, it'll hold it forever. But I don't want to do that. See, it kind of like kind of folds out of there. So the same thing were to happen if I were to open up the filter cutoff and send the envelope negatively. Check this out. See, it's like dipping the filter down and then holding it at a point. So I'm going to move the sustain and find another sweet spot. See, when I move it up, it's now closing it, and when I move it down, it's opening it. So if I want to set it to fully open, I'll just set this all the way back and kind of let it do this weird dip at the beginning and then come back to being open. That's kind of cool. But check this out. If I were to say, take this and put a single hit in here, you can hear it sounds different as opposed to when we played it in manually, right? That's because you need to go onto your trigger page of that track and change the length of the step. And this is basically saying 7, so it's going to hold it for about 7 steps. Or we do 3, it's going to hold it for 3. And you can hear that the envelope is at a different part of its cycle as opposed to when we held it down. Because remember, if I'm holding it down and I let it go before it finishes a part of its cycle, it's going to then move on to the next step from wherever it's at in the cycle. If it's halfway up on its attack, it's just going to start moving down on its decay. And back to our filter page, we then have our 2 different types, low pass and high pass. You can hear this kind of brings the filter down, letting some of the low end in and bringing it back out. Again, if we were to move this a little lower, it really gets down into the lower frequencies even more. And then let's go positive from here. But because our sustain is at a low point, it's basically holding it almost fully up, I guess you can say, with the filter being set to a high pass. So let's lower or raise this to lower it. This stuff starts getting confusing, trust me. Turn some of the resonance down. Let's go back to a low pass. Turning the envelope down. That's kind of cool right there. Go a little slower. You can almost start making it kind of rhythmic, right? That almost sounds like an LFO. So let's go ahead and start adding some other tracks in here. That got muted. That's whack. That's cool. This is kind of cool. Go back to our track, mess around with the filter again. Clap some reverb. Filter page, open this up, close this down. Let's go high pass, up, down on the sustain and the negative. Higher resonance. Basically what the resonance is doing, the resonance is creating a point or a peak at where the filter's creating a cutoff. You can basically visually see it here. It's poking out those specific filter frequencies. A cool thing here is, let's play this real quick. Let's see where we're at. So let's focus on the kick. So if I go to the kick drum and I set this to a high pass, you can hear that the kick's basically gone, right? You only hear like a little tick. Let me go ahead and mute some of this stuff, right? If I start bringing up the resonance, you'll hear that it starts really like hyper focusing on those frequencies. So where this is cool is you can find where the kick resonates the most and really push it. But then you go to the amp, turn up some overdrive before you start clipping, and then turn down the level. Where this is cool is if you want to get rid of some of the crunchiness, you set this to a low pass and find the same thing. And if you were to layer this with another kick, this would basically serve as your sub, while the other one, do I have another kick on here? Let's see. There we go. So we can see this one is set boom boom on 1 and 4. I'll go here and set it to 1 and 4, unmute it. Right, so without this, not bad. I mean, this is, of course, complete overkill. The way I have it set, we can kind of dial it back a little bit. Make it a little more usable, you know, something like that. It's kind of cool. Take that out. Falls a little more flat. If you want to not mess around with your subs too much, go to this kick, go to your filter, set that to a high pass, and just make this serve as the click. Maybe give this a little bit of a, you know, envelope. Whoa. That's kind of cool right there. Right, as opposed to your normal kick. Let's go ahead and take this stuff out. So this guy, I like this on a low pass. Anyway, that's the filter page. Super powerful, can really do a lot of stuff with it. But if you guys like this video, I'd really appreciate the thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give me a thumbs down, 2 thumbs down if you can, and let me know down in the comments how I can make these videos better for you guys to enjoy. Thank you guys so much for the support. Really appreciate it. You guys can always follow me on my Instagram, where I post a lot of other videos like this in my other studio with a lot of other gear. And there may be a piece of gear in there that you want to see a video on, so hit me up on my Instagram and let me know about it. But with all that aside, you guys know the drill, and that's to share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace.